Dr. Saw, for coming to ROE Dental Lab again, and for joining our staff with an educational meeting today that you really discussed your amazing Smileloc technology that your company, RODO Medical, has developed. So I appreciate coming here and spending time with us, going to a live surgery tomorrow.
Thank you.
So tell us, Doctor, in 60 seconds or less, how does the Smileloc technology work?
So Smileloc technology is really based on the nitinol properties, including shape memory change and also the super elastic. So because of nickel and titanium, they interact with each other, it creates a shape change based on the temperature setting. And because it's a titanium component, it's pretty strong, and some combination between nickel and titanium allows material to stretch beyond 10-15%, which is no metal can do. So that's a super elastic property. So nitinol and Smileloc is basically taking advantage of those properties to implant application.
Interesting. So you're an engineer by trade, a doctor in engineering. How did you get involved with this special alloy?
Yeah, shape memories are pretty common in a lot of engineering applications. And I was surprised to hear how implant restorations are placed on the implant by either cementing or screw retention. And I thought that hey, there's a better mechanism for fastening between the two objects together, especially using nitinol shape memory alloy. So that's how we kind of connecting the dots between other applications and then medical applications using shape memory alloys. Nitinol is one of the shape memory alloys available in the market.
And your patent with this technology is based on the use of that alloy in dentistry?
Correct. So we have RODO Medical has more than 30 patents in the US and international.
When a doctor places a case with this alloy, and at ROE Dental Lab we work with a lot of full arch cases, kind of one of our specialties, do they have confidence that it's held in with as much retention as cement or screws?
Yes, so we often share the mechanical testing data to compare cement, especially a strongest cement like a permanent cement, it's called, and a screw retention. So our Smileloc can either exceed their retention force or comparable to what they're familiar with. But I think most commonly, once they use our product in their own practice and feel that how strong it is, then they became a true believer that how strong the material is.
And how long has this been used in dentistry?
We've been around more than 10 years now, and in the actual first case in human goes back maybe 8-9 years ago.
Okay. How many cases, how many patients have been treated with a restoration, using a Smileloc retention?
Yes, so we don't count all the cases being done by our customers and users.
Sure.
But since it was the first to use overseas, and after the FDA approval here in the US, we've done over thousands of cases.
Wow.
In both singles to the full arch restoration.
Okay. I know at ROE our clients that have been doing testing for us in basically validating the workflow of guided smile with this has been just thrilled with the results and the simplicity of it. In order to get FDA approval, I'm sure you had to do a lot of testing.
Correct.
To get approved. What kind of testing do you have done, and is that really validates the product for use as being as good or better than any other clinical alternative? Is that correct?
That is correct. So we've done basically all the mechanical testing required by the FDA. And then we even done more testing because it's a uniqueness of our system, because there is nothing like this out in the market. And on top of that, we had to do clinical trials. And right now, even as a new implant company introducing a new implant system, you don't have to do a clinical trial. But because we're very novel and unique, we had to do a clinical trial, and we did that in 2015 and 16. That was a part of our FDA 510(k) submission.
Your system works in combination with an implant system and a particular platform. because you actually use an abutment as opposed to the manufacturer's abutment to engage your unique system of holding the restoration in place with a Smileloc. What systems and platforms do you work with currently?
So we're compatible with all the major implant systems in the U.S., and we continue to add more systems to our portfolio. And in terms of products, when you have to do implant restorations, only products that we don't manufacture and provide to the clinic or the lab is implant fixture, which is goes into the bone, and restorations like crowns and prosthesis. Everything else, RODO provides all the components necessary to complete the restoration.
So from my understanding, you're compatible with anything that's a Nobel compatible multi-unit interface?
Nobel internal connections.
Okay.
And Straumann also bone level connections. Neoden the connections for both GM and CM, they call GM being the latest. BioHorizons and Zimmer type of connections, okay. And Biomet 3i. Those are the major ones in the US.
All right, so anything compatible with those type of systems will also work with Smileloc?
Correct.
Okay, and you're expanding that portfolio in the future?
Correct.
I understand that that there's a unique advantage to your system where that, when a patient gets implant placed, like on an all-on-X case, after 2 weeks to 5 or 6 weeks, it's really important that there's no tension or stress be placed on those implants. Unfortunately, from time to time, patients show up in the dental office with a concern or complaint, and the dentist has to investigate what's going on with that particular patient. Because your Smile Key doesn't actually touch the prosthetic, it has a unique advantage there, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So unlike a screw-retained system, which you have to torque it in and torque it out in order to remove the prosthesis from the implant, Smileloc doesn't add any additional loading or the torque on the implant. So that's a huge advantage. And oftentimes, BJ, you and I know that the implant fails. Rarely, but 1% or 0.5% of the cases have some issues with the implant osseointegration in the bone. Then dentist has to remove the prosthesis to investigate that. When they do that, that's when adding additional stress on the implants freshly placed and waiting for osseointegration, and that can be disruptive to another.
Sure, they're investigating one implant and they might cause cause another one to fail in the process.
Correct.
So I know we've created a strategic partnership with our Chrome Guided Smile guided surgery system, which is a leader in the field of this, and RODO, because we're really excited about really going to no holes in our prosthetic and changing the whole industry for these type of prosthetics. Why did you choose to find this partnership? What kind of synergies do you see there?
Yeah, so Chrome Guide, when I heard for the first time many years ago, it was a very interesting concept using the metal guide. And could it be a very technically sensitive and cumbersome to create the metal printed guide? But I was surprised that when I first met you, maybe a year ago, that how fast that Chrome Guide has grown in the market. And start to learn about advantages of a Chrome Guide compared to plastic guides. So I think there are many advantages with the Chrome Guide. And I think market has accepted Chrome Guide as a superior option in the guided surgery. And by guiding the implant surgery, it makes restoration much better, especially with the Smileloc retained prosthesis. So it was a kind of natural marriage between the two leaders in the full arch prosthetic industry to make both companies and products even better to our users. And I think cases that we have done have demonstrated that how much of a benefit to create to the customers who are using Chrome and Smileloc, and even especially as a combined solution.
Yeah, it's really great to see the surgeries I've been to have those Smilelocs picked up in a prosthetic that already has the a dome created in the right position at the right angle. It just makes it really efficient, and then at the end of the day, that patient has no holes, so we're worried about the best possible position for that implant in the best possible position for that, retentive mechanism, we don't have to worry about hole emergence through the prosthetic. So it's great.
Yeah, one of the best, most valued benefits with the Chrome and RODO is that chair time, right? Because you have full arch surgery is very destructive surgery. You don't want to have a patient lying on the chair too long. So sooner you get the patient sutured and put the prosthesis in and go home, that's a better outcome in terms of even recovery. And so I think with the Chrome Guide and Smileloc system, chair time is significantly reduced. We're even seeing that about a couple hours of a surgery and restoration and everything else is done. So that's a very breakthrough solution. So BJ, I know we both are very excited to enter into this partnership. And when you see RODO Smileloc system, what would you think that this is a best solution to your Chrome Guide system compared to?
There's a host of benefits to it. I mean, just a whole bunch of benefits. But the real benefit, I think, long term is just the lack of screw holes. And we don't have to worry about angles and putting holes in prosthetics. So our temporary and final restorations are so much stronger than they were before because there's no holes in it, which I think in the future, it's going to lead itself to maybe more material options and maybe even bringing down the cost of these restorations so that maybe some patients that can't afford all-on-X surgery can now afford it because we don't need to have as strong of materials in the mouth because there's no holes, so it's not going to break. But by far the biggest benefit is the lack of screw holes, and it really is for the patient's lifetime that I think the benefit is. Right. Because every time that the doctor has to take a prosthetic out to clean underneath it, it's a really a time-consuming procedure that they hate to do because a lot of our clients, I think they can't, they've already been paid for the case, so there's only so much they can charge for those hygiene appointments, and if it goes well, it's maybe a half hour. If it goes bad, it could be many, multiple of that. With the Smileloc system and the Smile Key, it comes out in minutes. They can clean under the prosthetic. Maybe that patient comes in, twice a year to get it cleaned, just like a hygiene appointment, as opposed to once a year or not at all.
Right.
I think unfortunately there's probably a lot of full arch cases in the market that the patients don't come in.
Exactly.
Because they don't want to deal with that procedure because it's long and maybe a little bit painful and having their mouth open for that long, and maybe the doctors don't want to deal with it because they're it's not a real profit center for them, and it's difficult. But this is just a whole game changer for the health of the patient long term, and that's the biggest reason I'm excited about it. So a lot of short-term benefits for its faster surgery and no holes and prettier prosthetics and stronger things, but the long-term benefit I think is really going to be the health of the patient.
I agree.
To receive a copy of this lecture, visit www.rodentallab.com/ROE Reviews.